Hi, and thank you for joining me for today's process video. And today I'm documenting one photo of Amelia and one of her friends when they went on a walk recently. So you probably saw there I used my circle stitch template from Hey Little Magpie, which is the perfect template to create my background. I wanted to create a circular background, so I used that template, which is 7 3/4 inches wide, and just drew faint pencil lines partially around the circle, so just in long dashes if you like, just to create that circle so that I've got something to work with. And then I pulled out my 49er marker inks. I've got green jean to start with, watering it down and using a large brush, I think it's a number 10 brush, and just again creating brush strokes to create that circle. So just adding and building those brush strokes, adding more water to some of the strokes and less to others. And then I've pulled in the peachy orange, and which is called Just Peachy, and also pink sands, because I thought they would mix nicely together. And I'm trying to get some of those colours that are in the photo. I'm going to be using this with Vicki Boutin's Curiosities in Willow Grove. So I'm mindful of the colours that are in that collection as well. And I'm going to build up lots of colours to create this background, and then the papers really are almost not an afterthought, but the background is the showpiece really on this layout. So this is a stencil from Katie Petite when she moved over to Arden Creative Studio, and this was one of the first stencils she created for them, and I absolutely adore it. It's almost like diamonds, but they're sort of distressed diamonds if you like. So I started by pushing through Rainforest from 49er Market, and almost panicked a bit because it's quite a bluey green, that one. So I quickly pulled in Iced Spruce from Tim Holtz Distress Oxides. But in actual fact, now I'm looking at the layout, I think it's important to remember that all the different colours make up a background, and although it looks blue to start with, when you pull in all these other colours, it works really nicely on that background. So I've now pulled in Bundled Sage, again from Tim Holtz Distress Oxides, and I'm just blending around that circle just to bring all the colours together really. It was still looking quite stark white, and I didn't want that too much, so I'm just blending around just to sort of bring everything together. So I added splatters with the green that I started with, which is green jean, and also with the peach and pink that I used from 49er Market, and then I blotted them up after about a minute because I was impatient. Now I'm blending this, so I've got quite a few layers going already, but I haven't finished quite yet. I wanted to bring a little bit more orange in, so in a minute you'll see I bring in another ink. This is Spice Marmalade from Tim Holtz Distress Oxide, and I pulled in a smaller brush this time, and I'm just adding faint brush strokes around that circle in this Spice Marmalade colour, and then adding more water and adding small splatters all the way around the circle. I still felt that everything was a little bit too light because Amelia and Freddie look quite dark against that bright background. So I'm going to bring in another dark colour, and I plumped for Fossil from 49er Market, which is sort of a greyish brown. Would have been the perfect colour, but I still had some orange on my brush. I'm not too worried though. So I'm just making sure that I blend a lot of those pigments in with that orange, and then adding the splatters there. I've also brought in some gold watercolour from my... I'm just laughing at myself there. Sorry, I'm interrupting myself. I had the packaging left from that Fossil ink that I took off, and for some reason I was keeping hold of it in my hand because I did not want to let go. I don't know why I do that. So while I was adding the water to the gold, I realised and peeled it off my sweaty hand and put it in the bin. So yeah, just adding some gold watercolour there in splatters again, and I've moved that over to the side to dry. So I'm just trimming that photo down. I've printed it using my iPhone. I've mentioned this several times in previous videos, but I import them into my Notes app because it makes the photo slightly smaller and you don't lose any of the detail. If I print straight from the photos, it enlarges the photo slightly and you lose bits off the edge. So that's the way that I've found to resolve that, and I have got a short on my channel showing how I do that. I managed to record my screen, so I hope if you need help with that, that will show you how to do it. So I'm just matting the photo with two papers, and in fact I only used one from the 6x8 paper pack because both sides of that paper work perfectly, so why not? And then there's only those little bits left over, no waste really. So that's how the photo is going to sit on the page. I did leave it temporarily to dry, and now I'm going through this ephemera pack. I got it on my desk, so I need to check which one it is. I think it's the journaling pack. Yes, because that other one's icons and titles. So I'm just, as I find things that I think might work, I'm building up layers behind this photo. Not everything gets used, but it's just giving me an idea of what to do. I know some people enjoy going through an entire collection to find the perfect pieces, but my method is definitely go through until I find something that will work and stop. I don't want to spend hours and hours and hours on a layout. I really enjoy creating, but my time's quite precious at the moment with various external pressures. So I just go through until I find something, and if that works, I stop. So I'm going to glue all this down because the next thing I wanted to look at was the sticker sheet, and I just knew I'd get myself in a real mess if I started adding stickers onto ephemera pieces that hadn't been glued down. So I start with that lovely notebook piece, which is going to be the biggest piece on the left hand side there, and then I've got this lovely word strip that says what's coming is better than what's gone. I've already pulled out one of the stickers at the bottom there. You can see a lovely border. It's like a lacy border with stitching across it. This collection is just beautiful. The details are phenomenal in all the pieces, so I highly recommend having a look at Vicki Boutin's collections, £4.49 a market, if you haven't yet. There's still, I know that her first collection sold incredibly quickly, but since then they have upped the inventory numbers, so you should still be able to get her Christmas, which is Mistletoe and Memories, and this Curiosities in Willow Grove. Her next collection won't be out until next year, so do check those two out if you want to treat yourself, because they are absolutely beautiful, and I have got both. So I pulled that lovely thistle piece to put on the left hand side there. It doesn't actually stay on the layout in the end. The white was just too stark on the border. I wasn't happy with it, but I did like that large piece with the heart on. The heart gets covered. You don't really get to see that, and in fact that ticket that I put there is covered as well, which is a shame, but this is what happens when you're creating, isn't it? You just slowly build layers, and sometimes things do disappear. So that ruler I thought would be a nice thing to extend the eye up to the top of the page, so I'm just going to tuck that behind here. And it's at this point that I realise that I'm really not happy with the thistle. I'll bring in some laser cuts, and then I decide to pull it off. So just having a quick look at the sticker sheet to see if there's anything else that I liked, but I couldn't see anything, but straight away I see these two leaves, the red one and the yellow one, and I just think they'll be perfect as a part of that cluster in the bottom left hand corner. So for now I just tuck the red one at the top there, but I will move it down when I get rid of that thistle. And I'm going to add some foam stickers to some of those leaves just to pop them up and create dimension on the page. It really does look beautiful when you do that and get those shadows coming down. So just foam stickers across the top leaves, and then I'll glue the bottom bit flat. So just using my Nuvo Deluxe adhesive to get that down, and then the same with the second one. And they look absolutely brilliant layered up like that with the foam behind them. So here I am pulling that thistle up, so I will put it back on the sticker sheet. It'll be absolutely fine for another layout, but just not this one. I wasn't happy with it there. So I wanted to bring in a different colour just to create a different feel at the bottom here. So I found this fern, so I'm going to add that, once again adding foam to the top and then gluing it down at the bottom. And that brings in a different colour, which really makes everything else look more cohesive, but I will find something else to add as well. So just getting those foam stickers in place. I've got some teeny tiny ones from Sticks too. They haven't cut terribly well, so you do kind of have to pull them apart, but they're just brilliant for little fiddly bits like this. Couldn't remember how I put this fern, so I have a little mess about, and then remember it is going up the photo there. And when I turn this over, I spot another word piece that says a wonderful way to spend a day, and they really did have a lovely day together. It was Amelia, Freddie and Caitlin. Caitlin's taking this photo, and I love this photo. It's definitely probably one of the most used photographic spots on Limdown. So just checking that I'm happy with everything there, and then I spot this mushroom, and it's that beautiful navy blue. Freddie's got blue on, and it just ties everything together there. So I'm just going to once again add foam to the top and tuck that down into that cluster, and that really finishes everything off there. So there's not too much more to add. I need to choose my title, and I do use another word strip, and of course add my date to the tab at the top of the page there. So there's the mushroom or toadstool down, and I settle on one of our wood pieces from Hey Little Magpie. This one says sweater weather, which was perfect because the weather was just starting to turn when they went on this walk. You can see they both got their jackets on, but it was still a bright sunny day, so the perfect day to go up to Limdown. So just popping that down the bottom there, making sure that it's overlapping the bottom of that photo, and then using my T-square to check it straight, and then I shall add my journaling just to the right of that and underneath there as well. So just drawing some guidelines and then just writing what they were doing. So back onto the sticker sheet to find a word phrase. I just wanted a little word phrase to add to that cluster on the left-hand side of the photo. And I find one that says smiles and laughter, and they really did have smiles and laughter as they were going around the dam. So that works nicely. And I just needed a foam pad to stick that up on the left-hand side. And then adding my date to that tab at the top, which is the 11th of October. And that's it. Thank you so much for joining me. Here are the close-ups. I hope you've enjoyed this, and I provided some inspiration for this beautiful collection by Vicki Boutin, and I shall see you again soon. Thanks again. Bye.